In this video, we're going to discuss some of the changes to Azure AI and machine learning cognitive services APIs in 2022 that are going to affect you if you're learning cognitive services or you're using cognitive services in your projects. You're going to need to know that some of these things are changing. So some of these changes, that the first ones we're going to talk about, are policy driven. So Microsoft has long had a policy that some of their cognitive services cannot be used for police services. They do not want their name or their brand to be associated with facial recognition that is a result of, people being recognized on the street through body cams and other things like that. And so it's been several years now that there's been a warning or a pop-up when you go to create cognitive services that you must agree that you are not using this for any kind of police or military purpose. But now they're going a step further and they're announcing additional policy changes that are severely restricting some of the facial recognition features within Azure. What that means is you have to register for this service and be approved. And so that means you have to have a legitimate reason and basically a business case that fits within Microsoft's approved list of business cases in order to use these facial recognition and voice recognition features. And so if you're a researcher and you're doing this for a public good research project, you could probably get approved. If you are in the commercial space and you want cameras within your environment to recognize people, then that's probably not going to be approved. You just need to know. There is a blog post called Responsible AI Investments and links to their specific license. And if you want to apply, then you go through that. Oh, but do keep in mind, this does take effect. It takes effect pretty much immediately as of June 2022. Some of these retirements that we're going to talk about take place into 2023. So what features are being limited? Well, you do have to apply for and be approved for the facial API identify and verify features. So that's not all of their features, but if you want to be able to identify the person in a picture, say you have a custom model and you want to identify the person in the picture, you do need to be approved for that, or verify that the person's face matches what you're expecting that person's face to look, etc. Even the celebrity recognition is being affected. So you'd think that being able to recognize Tom Cruise or George Clooney is not really a privacy issue, but Microsoft is going all the way with this. And so you need to basically be approved even if you want your celebrity recognition API. And I think I use that in my AI 102 course in some of the examples. And so those examples immediately are no longer, you're able to duplicate, and these are no longer on the exam, obviously. Video Analyzer is the video portion, so where Face API and computer vision can work on photography and images, Video Analyzer works on video. And so the facial identification and the celebrity recognition parts of Video Analyzer are also approval only. Being able to create a custom advanced neural voice pro is going to be restricted. So you could have fed in some custom audio and created a custom neural voice. And now that's probably too close to, let's say, impersonation. You could get a hacker or malicious person to create a custom voice of a target and have that custom voice call into a call center. It would be potentially dangerous. So I suppose that's pretty easy to say that needs to be approval only. And finally, even the recognition. So if you have a piece of audio and you need to know the difference between when Bob is speaking and when Sally's speaking, even the recognition of the speaker of a piece of audio is being restricted for only approved uses. And so that can be pretty. When I first heard about this, I was a little bit sat back because I thought, man, this is like the old saying is, this is why we can't have nice things, right? So there's some really cool features, advanced AIs and machine learners are being developed, but then malicious people are using them for bad purposes, and so then those things get taken away, and even police and military uses, foreign governments and things like that. So these things are now approval only. A little bit disappointing, but I guess that's totally also understandable, and that's privacy in the 21st century. Entirely being retired, so no longer available for use as of 2023, are the facial API attributes. And so there used to be some quite complex and deep attributes you can pull from a face, and you can get the X and Y coordinates of the sides of your mouth and where your nose starts and ends, and your ears and all that wonderful stuff. All that stuff is being taken away. Prediction of gender, another example in this course, age, smile, whether or not you have facial hair, which obviously could lead to prediction of gender, makeup, which is also gender related sometimes, the hair is also gender related sometimes, and so all of these things are being basically retired. There's no legitimate use for them anymore, because Microsoft is basically retiring these features. That's again unfortunate. Now, that's not the only changes. Earlier this year, in the springtime, they did start renaming some services. And so what used to be called text analytics is now just the language service. You're not going to see text analytics as much in the documentation, but sometimes you might see it. And you'll see that in this course, well, now it's called language service. As well as there used to be this language understanding service, LUIS, and the acronym, I believe, is being retired, or they're trying to really pull back the use of it, because that could be confusing if everything's just LUIS. What is LUIS? So now you'll just see it called language understanding service, which I guess is clearer, and that makes some sense. Finally, there was a chatbot. There's a chatbot service, obviously. And there was part of the chatbot service was a Q&A maker. It could analyze your website, analyze PDF documents and other documents, and extract logical questions and answers, like what's your hours of operation, and where are you located, and what kind of products you have, etc. Could have been pulled from your website using Q&A maker. Well, that is no longer called Q&A maker, and actually it's no longer considered part of the bots services. It's now a language service. It makes sense, because text analytics, which was language service as well, is analyzing text, the intentions, understanding what the text is saying, and so being able to pull out logical questions and answers is really just a language service. And so that is, you'll see references to Q&A maker. That's no longer a product. It's now part of the language service. So those are some of the changes we've been going through with the machine learning so far this year. And I just wanted you to know, because I didn't want you to be confused if you see those terms either in the course or online, and just to understand that this is part of the evolution of machine learning.